Today
Maybe I
is
could
July.
swallow on the other side, though.
Yeah. Today is July 23rd, 2019. My name is Joe Todd. This is an interview with Esley A. Hinshaw in Muskogee, Oklahoma. You go by Bud. Sir, where were you born?
Emporia, Kansas, in the last century,
Yes. When's your birthday?
4/12/38. I've got that one down good.
Yeah. Who is your father?
Edwin Andrew.
Edward Andrew.
Edwin.
Edwin Andrew Hinshaw. And your mother?
I owned Elizabeth Clow.
I own Elizabeth
Maiden name was Clow. C-L-O-W.
C-L-O-W. Did you go through school in Emporia?
Yep.
You graduated what year?
56.
Mm-hmm. What kind of work your father do?
Railroad.
Railroad.
Yeah, he did some other things, but railroad's what he retired from.
Okay. Who is your favorite teacher?
Who is my favorite teacher? My goodness, that's a good question. Academic. Well, I always admired my 7th grade math teacher. And what was her name? Culbertson or something like that. Because I made A's and did real well in math. Top of the class. After that, well, math went down. I also admired John Webb or Mr. Webb and Mr. Brinkman. I never had any classes with Mr. Webb. I visited his class in the 7th grade, and he remembered me all the rest of my life. Called me by name whenever he'd see me. Mm-hmm. He went on to be president of the Emporia State Teachers College. Brinkman was my art teacher, and I went to Emporia State following him up there, which I was a first semester dropout. Let's put it that way.
What'd you do for recreation in high school?
What did I have to do? Recreation, oh goodness. Well, I tried to be on the football team. Spent a lot of time with the Quaker youth group. Did lots of different things that the youth group does. Hung out with the guys.
Did you roller skate?
And we did a lot of cruising.
Do you have a car?
Yep.
What kind?
1926 Model T Ford. First car. $30.
How big was Emporia?
Oh, I think it was 12 to 15,000 at that time. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure. I always thought it was a big place.
What were the main stores in Emporia?
The main store?
Mm-hmm.
I guess Newman's department store, J.C. Penney's. For me, well, I was J.C. Penney, because that's where all my school clothes came from all my life. Mm-hmm. And they had a special system, a vacuum system. You make your purchase, put your dollars in the tube with the receipt, stick it in the hole, and it was gone. And a couple seconds later, it was back. It was really fascinating.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you went to Emporia State after high school?
Right.
For one semester?
Yep. And the reason I went, because everybody else in town that I graduated with was going somewhere, and I was just left by myself.
Right.
And my Sunday school teacher says, "Why don't you go to college?" So at the last minute, I enrolled. They took me in, I don't know whether they checked my background or anything like that. I had way too many hours to graduate from high school, but I wasn't ready for college. But I went, and I was an art major because of Mr. Brinkman. They had me doing 15 hours to be a full-time student, which I wasn't capable of doing. English, math, and all the extra homework that was required. Besides that, well, I had a girlfriend. Not that one.
What did you do after you left Emporia State?
What did I do after Emporia State? Well, how much after?
You said you were there one semester?
Or you want to go all my life what I did?
Yes.
I started off delivering newspapers in the 6th grade. I worked at something all my life. I established a paper route with a Wichita Beacon and Eagle, and then I had a morning route and an Saturday route. I'd get up at 4 o'clock, go to Santa Fe Depot, pick up my papers for the morning, pedal on my bicycle around town, and deliver them. And then Sunday, why, I got to do both of them at once. So from there, we're going way back in history. From there, I went to work at Eddie's Drive-In. I was a car hop, where you actually put the trays on the window and run the slide into the door. So, and how I got that job, I have no idea. I never applied for it. Somebody put my name in, and they called me, and I said, okay. So I did. And then I went to work.
I suspect it was his mother.
Then I progressed to pumping gas in a filling station. I worked construction, digging holes in the ground for Holmes and Narver Construction Company. My mother had a popcorn business. We supplied popcorn for different outlets in Emporia, plus all the basketball games at the auditorium, because they would not allow a popcorn machine there. So we made our own sacks, popped our own corn, and delivered it. And we got, I think 7.5 cents a sack for popcorn. It was a lot of work, but hey, it gave me spending money, and Mom gave my sister and myself all the profits after expenses, just so we'd have some money. I could go into great detail about the popcorn machine, but it was a homemade thing. Great machine, great popcorn. Then after my experience there with college, well, I was directly into the Air Force. Dad and I had talked about military quite some time. I told him, well, I think I'll join the National Guard. All my buddies were joining the National Guard. He did not speak favorably of it. He said, if you want to sleep in a foxhole full of mud and dodge bullets, that's your problem. You're a damn fool if you do. I never did. The only reason I wanted to do it, buddies were doing it, and they were getting about maybe $30 a month or something like that to attend their meetings. But since the group of guys that I ran around with, the oldest one, he'd been in college several different times, and he'd successfully flunked out every time. And we were pretty close. He said, why don't you go down to the Air Force recruiter with me? And I said, oh, I've got a break here in classes. Sure, I'll go. And consequently, when we walked in, why, my buddy says, the recruiter says, what can I do for you guys? The third friend that ran around with us, he says, Stoney, I brought you 2 more. Okay. My good buddy, I'm not naming names, my good buddy says, Stoney asked him, what can I do for you? And good old number 1 buddy says, where do I sign? And Stoney had that Royal or Underwood, whatever he was using, smoking. He signed a paper, and he looked at me and says, and how about you? This is starting to be the story of my life. Oh, why not? So away I went.
When did you join the Air Force?
I went in the Air Force.
When?
1 February, 57.
Where'd you go for basic training?
Lackland Air Force Base under the buddy system.
What's a buddy system?
Your buddy signs up with you and you go through basic training together. Supposedly.
Tell me about basic.
Basic?
Yeah.
Well,
Children's program.
it's like basic is basic. It was a real harassment type thing. See how much you could take without losing your cool.
What type of training did you have?
I learned how to march. I learned how to say yes sir, no sir. I learned how to do KP. I could swing a mop 12 feet either way.
Tell me about your drill instructors.
They were just guys older than what we were. My first day in basic training, they unloaded us off the bus, took us into a barracks, said, okay, make your beds. So we got the beds made, and the guy walked around and says, tore them all up. Do it again. This went on for, it seemed like, next to forever. Finally, they let us make the bed and climb in bed. We no more did that, and they made us get up. More harassment. Get up, tear the bed up, make it, climb back in. But finally they got tired, I guess, and they let us alone for an hour or so. But it was well worth the experience. Everybody should get to experience it. Makes a better person out of you.
Did you have
But we also knew this was not going to last for the next 4 years.
Did you have bivouac?
Bivouac?
Did you go on bivouac?
Our bivouac actually amounted to, I think we walked 10 or 15 miles that day. Up and down, around, all over the base. We stopped for lunch, then we marched again. Why don't we go someplace? We're not doing anything. We've been by here 3 times. Are they lost? But that was it. As far as going out and staying guard duty and that sort of thing, no. We went to the rifle range, the firing range. And I thought I was a pretty good shot. I don't know whether I ever hit the target or not. I was a good shot at home.
What weapon did you have?
We had the carbine,
Carbine.
not the M1.
Okay.
It was a real nice weapon.
What's your most vivid memory of basic?
Most what?
Most vivid memory of basic.
Oh, the heat, the fact that I was I was an unusual airman. Let's put it that way. When we got to Shepherd Air Force Base, We were assigned to a squadron, of course. And as we signed in, we'd already made our selection on our career fields. So we thought. Some guys went into radio, some guys went into electronics, some guys were aircraft mechanics. I was going to be a tow reel specialist.
A what?
That's what I said. A tow reel specialist.
What is that?
That's what I said. And they said, oh no, we got 6 of these guys tow reel. They closed that school 6 months ago. So here we are floating. We don't know where we're going or anything else. And we started doing basic training all over again. And I had about 6 weeks or 8 weeks, something like that, was still going nowhere. And I put in for a leave. They says, you don't have your basic done. I said, that's all right. I've got a couple of weeks' time built up here. I'd like to go home. This is basic training. I want to go home, get my car and my civilian clothes. We weren't supposed to have any of that in basic. But they signed the paper and I went home. I got my car and got back to my squadron, and they said, oh, you've been transferred over to another squadron. Get your footlocker and drag it over there, which seemed like a long ways off, I don't know. And that's what I really remember about basic, and the car seemed to always have me in some kind of trouble.
Now, was this actual basic when you were at Shepherd?
This was, yes, I was in school to learn to be something.
Okay.
And it was still a basic organization.
What were you learning to be?
Well, I told you I was going to be a tow reel specialist.
Now, what's that? Tow reel?
Tow, T-O-W, Rio. Finally found out what I was told when I signed up. It was going to be running a winch out of a helicopter on a rescue, which sounded very exciting. But when I found out what it was even more exciting. What it was dropping a tow target out of a B-25 or B-26 on a cable that went a mile or so behind the aircraft, and they would shoot at it from the ground with rockets and whatever. And occasionally, well, they use some rockets that would go up and then they'd start following the cable into the aircraft. But that never happened with me. I ended up being an aircraft mechanic.
Aircraft mechanic.
Flight line aircraft mechanic. Went through mechanic school and everything. And what I really remember about that, they gave us a can of Neverdol, which is aluminum polish. Sent us out during the school hours and polished an aircraft, make it shine pretty. We had other things, how to do this and do that, how to talk on the radio, how to hook lights up, how to start an engine, an aircraft engine. We're supposed to remember all this stuff. And then they also, for the engine part, they had a panel that they could flip switches and do different things. I could make it miss out or stall, whatever. And here they marched us in, showed us how, helped us get the engine started. You have to flip this, do that, and then a few other things. Then they'd flip a switch, and we were supposed to know what to do to keep it running. That's one thing I remember, because we never were told how to do it. They just unflip the switch, recycle the switch. I do remember we went to what they call a confidence course. That's what it was. Like you see on TV, the Marines running and climbing over logs and walking on different things. Then they had a tower of confidence that you're supposed to climb up about 3 stories, something like that. Just climb up there over the logs, get to the top, and then climb down. I couldn't do it, didn't even try. Then we had the slide for life, which today is what they're using as a tourist attraction in the mountains or whatever. They hook you up in a harness, which ours was a parachute harness. We climbed up this tower for forest rangers, in single file, of course. And the only way down was to fall off. Hook us up on the cable, and here you walk out on the plank, and that was the end of your life. And it was my turn, and I got up there, and I could just feel somebody was going to boot me off. So I closed my eyes and fell off. It was a lot of fun rolling down that thing. Really. I enjoyed it. Got down to the end, there was a big cable stretched across, and we bounced up and down. But we had one young man, colored kid, I don't know his name or anything. He was scared to death to get up there. I think they pushed him off. He went down hard, really carrying on. And when he got his feet on the ground and everything, he got back in line to go up again.
What aircraft are you working on?
Which time?
In the school?
In the school, it was a C-119 flying boxcar.
C-119.
I never saw one after that.
Yeah. How long did that school last? How long did that school last?
I'll just say 6 weeks.
6 weeks. Then where'd you go?
I went to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, Dayton, Ohio.
What'd you do there?
I was, here again, it's not a straight answer. Officially, I was an aircraft mechanic, flight line aircraft mechanic. The duty was to service aircraft after the desk jockeys. That's officers that were supposed to get 3 hours of flight time a month. They would come down, take a plane up, fly it for 3 hours, so they kept themselves qualified. That was our basic mission. But, now here's the other side of the story. Since I had a car, and I was living in the barracks, and the barracks was 5 miles from our duty station. They needed somebody to run the coffee and donut route. Plus I got paid for it. Plus all the donuts and cinnamon rolls I could eat. And all I had to do was drive off from the barracks, 1 block, go to the donut shop, pick up the boxes of donuts, drive them down to the flight line, take them upstairs, and that was the end of my day. We had civilian personnel doing all the work. Air Force was just there, really. The only ones that seemed to do any work was the dispatcher who would call for a fuel truck or something of that nature.
What unit were you assigned to at Wright-Patterson? What unit were you assigned to at Wright-Patterson?
Oh, I really don't remember. It was ARDC, Air Research and Development.
ARDC.
I don't remember the numbers. You're sleeping.
Yeah.
No, ARDC is...
Air Research and Development
Okay,
Command.
okay.
And while there, a call went out for 2 airmen 3rd class with a 5-level AFSC or whatever number to go overseas, go to the South Pacific. That's what they said, South Pacific. Hey, my good buddy that we went through basic and school and everything with, why, he was in big trouble with the judge downtown. And he was told, son, if you don't get yourself out of town here real quick, I'll do it for you. Well, John came over to me and says, go with me, go with me. There was another kid, he was a Jewish kid, that also qualified to go. And of course, John didn't think very highly of him. He was from Brooklyn or someplace, and he had experienced nothing in life. So John made a, let's say, not a nice remark about the kid. He says, you better go with me. So I said, well, okay, why not? Here again, why not? We didn't know where it was. Somebody says, you're going to Annie Weetalk. Oh, what's that? It's like a woman's name, Annie Weetalk. Oh, okay. Then found out when we got there, really what they were doing. It was atomic tests. So, the first day, as we stepped off the plane, we were told, stay out of the sun. You're known as white meat. You're going to burn almost instantly. Do not do anything unless stay in the shade. That's all you need to do. You get your clothing issue, your bunk assigned, everything, but stay in the shade. So, the next day, they had a live blast schedule on the other side of the atoll, which I'm 20 miles away or somewhere. So we had to fall out in our protective uniform, which amounted to a short sleeve khaki shirt, short pants, World War II issue boots, brogans, and a baseball cap. We fell out onto the assembly area, and they said, okay, we're going to go through the countdown, 10, 9, 8, and at such a number, why everybody turns around, puts their arm over their eyes before the blast. I don't know why, but somebody handed me a pair of goggles, or a goggle. And I put it on. I never saw the guy before. I was brand new on the island. And he handed me the goggles and says, here, watch it. I put those protective goggles on, and I looked at the sun, and it was smaller than a pinpoint. So I got to watch the blast. It's the only blast I got to see. Talk about spectacular. The countdown went down, 10, 9, 8. Everybody else turned around, and I looked out across the lagoon, and this thing went off. I mean, the whole world lit up brighter than the sunshine. Huge, great, beautiful. Everything going up like this, and the clouds boiling up, and the shock waves going out. And then they came to us and boom in the ear. And you could even feel the heat from this thing boiling, boiling, boiling. And you could look down into the lagoon, There was a lot of World War II sunk Japanese ships and troop carriers and things. It was a big battle in the South Pacific. And those sunken ships, you could see them, and they were laying clear over on their side. And the wave came in, and kind of expected a tidal wave, but not so much there. Everything went up, and you could see sharks out there flopping around. That was my first big experience. Last time I got to see one, but I went through 7 of them. 7 different tests for other things.
Now, wait, which blast was this? Was that on Eniwetok?
That was on Eniwetok.
Okay. That's the first one? Okay.
The first that he knew about,
Oh, yeah.
that he experienced.
I don't know whether I got to go through 2 of them there or what.
Yeah.
But for some unknown reason, I was shipped down to Bikini. They needed somebody down there, so they picked me up and moved me down there, which was great. Small island, palm trees, clean white beach, sand, movie theater. Everything was almost done by civilians. That's where they assembled the bombs for down there. And the bombs were put on big barges, assembled, and taken off across the lagoon where they were exploded. Here again, if there was a shot, why we were assembled and everybody was counted 3 or 4 or 5 times. And we lived in tents, World War II tents. I think they were supposed to be 8 or 10 men tents, and there would be 12 or more. They were crowded.
What'd you do at Eniwetok?
I was an aircraft mechanic.
What airplanes you have there?
L-20,
L-20.
Havilland L-20, single engine, high wing, made in Canada. And here again, our mission was to ferry the scientists, same as on Eniwetok, to the different explosion sites around the atoll. So the scientists would come down to our little plane, which I refer to it as a taxi cab. They would be decked in their protective suits, legs all taped together, booties, face mask, all protection for radiation, and they would go in and test the radioactive sites after explosion. They had all of this protective gear. We still had our protective gear, our little baseball cap and short sleeves. We would meet the plane on both locations, open the door, they would jump out with their Geiger counters, and they'd be whisked off to someplace else. And we would refuel the plane. Well, the planes were landing on these islands that were radioactive. But we didn't wash them down or anything. We just put some more fuel in them and sent them off again. But also, they had B-57 bombers converted. They were British-built bombers. And to start the thing, I never got to work on them. That wasn't my thing. They were a jet. I wasn't qualified to work on jets. But it took a spatial cartridge inserted into the starting system. It had to be fired, and boom, then the engine would take off. And the purpose of these things was leave after the explosion, and all going on. They would be up here and they would dive down through that, picking up samples of radiation. Then they would come back and be washed and everything, and the pilot decontaminated. And a friend of mine, or just an acquaintance, I remember his name was Mitchell. He was on the wash rack. This is on NOE Talk here, this story. He was on the wash rack. And he says, Mitch, that plane's ready to be washed out there. Go out and do it. So he was out there, and that plane had not been cleared for wash whatsoever. It was still hotter than hot. That kid spent the next 24 hours plus maybe in the shower with a GI brush and soap. Scrub, 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 scrub. Everything he owned in his locker that he hadn't been back to was confiscated and burnt. He was given new clothes, and whether or not he survived, who knows. Lost touch with him. But they showered him for a long time, and I don't think he made it. Here again, that's what we did. I was on Bikini when the tests were concluded. Oh, yeah, before that. We evacuated Bikini twice. It was a safety precaution because they were going to explode a bomb. It was going to create a tidal wave to wash over the top, wash everything out. At least that's what they were expecting. So we evacuated, and I was evacuated to a flat top aircraft carrier, which I think it recently made big headlines. World War II aircraft carrier.
Which one?
USS Boxer.
USS Boxer.
That's the most miserable time I ever spent in the service.
Why?
The bunks were this far apart. You're a piece of bologna slammed in between another bunk. You had to, you couldn't turn over. We were in the worst part of the ship possible, where it was all hot, the boilers and everything. Here again, when the tests came, our little aircraft, they had them up in the air, flying around. They didn't have enough fuel to actually to fly them back to Weetalk or whatever. So they were flying around. The rest of us were on the flight deck to be counted again, see how many people there were. At about the time the bomb was to go off, why, you could see these two little, they called them mosquitoes, that they were going like a big old dog was chasing them or something, getting away from the bomb. We did that twice. Once on the Boxer, and the second time was on a luxury ship, USMC Amesworth. It's a merchant marine ship. It was, well, it was a castle. It was great. We slept in bunks like officers. We had free run of the ship wherever we wanted to go. We could go to mess hall at any time, day, night, or in between.
How many men were on the ship?
What's what?
How many men were on the ship?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Just say a bunch.
Yeah. What were your duties on the ship? As aircraft mechanic again? You aircraft mechanic?
I was an aircraft mechanic.
Yes. Okay.
But this is when they were moved out of Bikini just to be housed on that ship until.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So you moved out of Bikini on the ship just to get out away from Bikini?
Yeah,
Yes.
we were out here floating around,
Okay.
and after the all clear was sounded, we went back. They didn't get their wave. I think part of it was they were testing a new device to prevent the bomb from going off. It must have worked. Somebody says it's 25 cents device to keep the thing from exploding. That's just a rumor, a story. And I got the worst sunburn I ever had in my life on Bikini. The Marines were also part of the operation there. What they were doing, I really don't know. But they had liquor rations. Air Force didn't. And when they shipped out, why, they were told you're not taking your booze with you. And they had to pack their foot lockers, take it down to our flight hangar. Each foot locker was opened and inspected for anything that was supposed to have. And all the booze was piled up over here. My goodness. When they left out, the booze was still there. And we helped ourselves to a lot of it. And everybody else left. So the Air Force guys, we'd been living in tents in the middle of the island. We decided, well, nobody's over there, so we went over and had our tent on the beach, looking over the ocean. Ocean breezes, everything. It was great, fabulous.
Did you ever see that movie, The Wackiest Ship in the Army? I think there was some of that going on too.
Yeah.
Plus, another side benefit besides the booze and getting the tent, we had our pick of them. You go open up the lockers and there's all sorts of Playboy all around. And when we would go to chow, breakfast, anytime else, actually, we would go take another thing about the showers, but we would go to breakfast with a mixed drink in our cup. And we would eat steak. We didn't have scrambled eggs and bacon. We had big old steaks. All you wanted to eat of them. They were getting rid of all this stuff so they wouldn't have to send it back. And our latrine facilities was freshwater. It was processed seawater. It was put into a great big old water tower. Solar heated. And you did not want to take a shower at 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Why?
It was so hot, it was scalding. Everybody showered at 9 o'clock at night.
How long were you on Bikini?
I was there, I'll say, at least 6 months.
How many? Oh, go ahead.
And after the operation, they shipped me back to Anahuac, which we did doing the same thing, only we didn't have the booze. We had a place called Duffy's Tavern for the enlisted men. And every night, why, there wasn't anything else. If you didn't want to go to the movie, open air movie, sitting in the rain, and we talked to the movies. It was a lot of fun. Am I running out of tape?
Oh, no.
Oh, okay.
It's those kids.
So we went down there and tipped a few. course, we were bored stiff. So we did some college type things, like, well, it wasn't quite like panty raids, but instead we did some pranks. One, we stole a cannon. The Aileron Squadron, their tents were about this far away from our tents.
Look what happened.
We had boardwalks. You didn't walk in the coral dust.
Okay.
But in an earlier flight or something from one of the other islands, they had picked up this Japanese cannon and brought it back over to Aniwetok. And it was sitting on the ocean side of their squadron, behind their tents. So the Air Force decided it was time they shared their cannon. We had a brand new maintenance officer. Nobody liked him. All he wanted to do was collect seashells. And so we decided it was time to reposition this cannon, pull it out, put it on the back of a truck, take it down to the maintenance office, and point it at his desk. Well, that was a great idea. So a lot of in-depth detail planning. We went back there, got the cannon, we were dragging it up through all this coral dust, and the Aileron boys were in their tent playing poker. And we drug that thing and get a little bit stuck, and somebody say, heave! Aileron didn't do anything. They kept playing. We finally got this thing up to the back of a truck, our pickup truck, which we used for transportation. We also had a code word. If something was to go wrong, was Geronimo. Good word. Yeah, we were back there loading this thing up, and it didn't fit because there were benches along the side for people to sit on. And somebody looked over across the little parking lot and saw legs under a truck over there. And consequently, why, we knew something was about to happen. They were going to meet us out there, big fight. So the driver of the truck says, Geronimo. No, the password was Geronimo. All they said was, run! So we scattered. And he was in the truck, and he popped the clutch and swung out onto the pavement. The cannon fell out right in front of these guys, had wooden spoked wheels and everything. They broke. And what had happened, a poor soul from the army, which was at the other end of the island, had been down to Duffy's Tavern, and the Aileron guys were beating the hell out of him. And consequently, this might have been about New Year's Eve, matter of fact, that my supervisor was on CQ that night, and he heard clomp, 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 clomp coming up the boardwalk. He happened to look out the door of the tent. Somebody had reached in, grabbed a chair there, and threw it clear across the... He didn't know what happened. And that also led to the next incident, which the Army, bless their soul, liked to play all their military taps and revelry and chow call, pea call, whatever, anything that they could play. And they had a big loudspeaker in our area. Matter of fact, the whole island, it was an early warning system for alerts, particularly when they're going to count down a blast. Well, those things were over, and here again, our little group of Air Force guys got together and decided we didn't like that thing. We didn't like being told when to go to bed and when to get up, because we didn't want to get up then. We didn't like mess call. We didn't like any of that stuff. And our favorite staff sergeant, his name was Doolin. I wasn't going to name names, but he says, we ought to do something about that. And he was well oiled. He says, I've got some dikes in my locker. And he said, why don't we just shinny up there and cut that wire? So, okay.
Dikes, wire cutters.
Yes.
He got the dikes, and we went down there to the pole, and the smallest guy was going to go up and cut it. So he got pushed up. He finally shimmied up there and cut the wire. Well, that wire strung the whole length of the island, over the tin buildings, the mess hall, clear up to the army area. And it made a noise when it came down, quank. Well, a couple days later, the army put it back up. Well, we didn't like that either. So it happened again. Only this time, when it came down, that wire was cut up in 12-inch strips, the whole length of the island. Well, it was quite some time before they got around to putting it up again. This time they wrapped a cable. And about that time, the Air Force commander went to the Army commander and says, turn that damn thing off. Because each time they'd turn the volume up louder and louder. And he says, okay, you turn that thing way down to where we can't hear it. It's not necessary. If you don't do that, you're not getting any KPs. Because all the civilian KPs that had been hired by the Holmes and Narber construction company had been sent back to Hawaii or wherever they were from. And it was up to the military to do their own KP all the way through. And I think I went for about 6 weeks straight, 6 days a week, at least on KP. 16 hours a day. But I wasn't the only one, the rest of the guys did too. But they did turn things down because he didn't have enough Army personnel up there to run the mess hall. We had another incident of milk on Enowetok. Fresh milk didn't exist. Canned milk did exist, and it was terrible. And then they started sending over frozen milk. And defrosted, and it tasted good. The troops were so starved for milk, of all things, that they broke into the mess hall. Can you believe breaking into the mess hall and stealing some milk? They got reprimanded for it, but I don't think anything else happened out of it. We had island parties over on another island from Enowetok, a squadron party. And it was a case of free beer, all you could drink. And if you couldn't make it home by yourself, somebody'd put you on a ping pong table and get you back. And that's when this buddy I went over with decided that he wanted a hat made out of the virgin palm leaf off a palm tree, which there was a guy from Special Service from Hawaii he could fix them. He could make them. So he says, you get up there, you get one. He said, I'll make you one. So my buddy decided, well, I'll go up and get one. I don't know whether you're familiar with coconut trees or not. So he started up and said, how am I going to cut it out? Somebody started throwing a knife at him. You go. And he never did hit him. Then he decided, time to come down. He wasn't up that far. So he did like any farm boy would do, slide down. Yep, he hurt for a while. The same guy was very afraid of going into the lagoon on account of the sharks. Joe Shark wasn't going to get him ever. He wouldn't go swimming. We even had a saltwater swimming pool, but he wouldn't go swimming. They were on the island of Japtan, which was the recreation island. We were swimming there, diving off this LCM, whatever, having a good time, and heard this, here he comes, running straight down that pier, off the end into the ocean. He no more than hit the water, and he was back on top. Here he came again. Oh, he did it twice. The same guy. And another couple guys of that group decided they were tired of being on the island. There was a half-inflated life raft somewhere. So they were going to take the raft down the lagoon. They were going to blow it up down there, which is impossible. And they got a first aid kit. They had to have supplies. They got a first aid kit and a carton of cigarettes. And now I don't think they ever got any further than that. But they're going to float the whole world with a carton of cigarettes and a first aid kit.
Heading for Hawaii. Heading for Hawaii.
Oh, they were just headed out. They were going home. I had a 3-day pass to go to Guam. They had a plane going over there, so they gave people a 3-day pass. So a whole bunch of us did. The only thing I remember about the whole thing, well, 3 things. One was when we got to Guam, we got on a people carrier, a big old Army 4x or whatever, and they had some planks there to set on with a native driver, and he was going to go to town. What town? I have no idea. And they only know 1 speed over there. Well, 2 speeds. And the second one is stop. And all us Air Force guys were sitting there. And the natives, get this now, the natives that were riding such a just as peaceful. And we got to town, and there was a Pizza Hut. There's a sign said pizza. We hadn't had anything like that. So we all went in and ordered a big pizza, and that was the worst thing ever. Then coming home, our C-54 aircraft lost its electrical compass. All they had was the regular compass, and they flew clear across the ocean back to Anahuac. No problem. I got a An R&R, rest and relaxation leave. So my buddy and I, we went to Honolulu. For our rest and relaxation, we flew into Hickam Air Base and saw the great big old bomb craters and everything. And we stayed in the transit barracks. And I had $25 to my name for a week. The only thing that we had to declare things going into customs. My buddy didn't have any money. He always blew it. He drank it up. And I had 1/5 of Canadian Club booze. And we drank that the first night, and that's the first time I ever got sick. Canned Coke had just come out, and it was pure, straight syrup. So dump that out. How much we dumped out, I don't know. But I don't think that fifth lasted very long. But that was some of the side benefits. We got 30 days off for good behavior. So we all took that too.
Were there natives on Inuit-Talk Bikini?
No, all the natives have been removed.
Okay.
And where they were sent to, I don't know. But the natives are being allowed back in, but they're having radiation problems. After all these years.
How many nuclear blasts did you witness? How many nuclear blasts did you witness? Did you see?
How many what?
How many nuclear blasts did you see?
I went through 7 tests.
7 tests. How far were you from the test?
Far enough.
Far enough.
I would say 20 miles
Okay.
at the most. That's straight across the lagoon.
Yeah.
That's not very far. Nothing in between.
That's here to Warner.
You could see the water just being pulled up. That lagoon would be emptied. And the islands themselves are coral islands. They're built like a mushroom. Is the core and then the coral up here. And they would set these barges on this coral out. And I got a chance to fly over it one day. And you could see where these barges had been set. Just holes straight down. Of course, from the air, why the sharks looked like they were 20 feet long. Of course, everything gets magnified.
The hole was created, the hole under the barge was created by the bomb. A huge hole.
Yeah. The hole was exactly the size of the barge. You didn't see any barge or any debris. It went down.
How far from the blast was the barge?
The blast was on the barge.
It was on the barge. Oh, so it just went straight down.
They were assembled.
Yeah.
For Inuit-Talk, they were assembled on the civilian island.
Yeah.
Where we'd go to have steaks on Saturday night.
Okay.
Perry Island.
Perry Island. Okay.
And we went on a ship called the African Queen. And it was always loaded. Everybody wanted to go over there and eat steak.
So when you left, you come back to the States? When you left, did you come back to the States?
Yes.
Okay.
I got promoted over there because John and I, if we'd, and my other good buddy, Skip, if we would have came back to the States, we would have been discharged instantly.
Okay.
Because we had time and grade as airman 3rd class, nobodies, and so they promoted us real quick. Skip and I went to North Carolina to Pope Air Force Base, or better known as Pope Pea Patch. with the 82nd Airborne. The other buddy went to Virginia somewhere up there. And he continued his drinking habits, and last I heard of him, he was in Thule, Greenland or somewhere, that he had screwed up again. And I guess, I got to talk to him once, years later. I guess he did put in his 20 years retired. How he did, I'll never know.
When are you discharged?
I got discharged in 57, November of 61, 4 years and 9 months.
Did you go to Vietnam?
No, I
No.
missed it by that far. I missed it because I was on a 9-month voluntary extension in the Air Force. I was trying to get promoted. My discharge date was coming up, and I wasn't going to stay in the Air Force as an airman second class doing all the, I'll use the word dipshit projects.
What'd you do after you got your discharge?
What'd I do?
Yes.
Oh, when I got out, I went back to, I started at the bottom of the chain again. I started driving a truck in a gravel pit because that was the only thing available at that time. Then I moved over to sanitary sewer construction.
Where?
Emporia. I went home.
Okay.
From there, I went back to the Santa Fe Railroad. That 9-month extension cost me 4 years seniority. But I didn't know about that at the time. They didn't tell me anything about it until the 9 months was up.
Yeah.
So I went back, bummed around on the railroad for 6 or 8 months, whatever. By bumming, I mean I worked this division, that division, wherever they needed somebody.
What'd you do with the railroad?
I was a fireman, road fireman.
Okay.
They still had firemen at that time. Then I decided I didn't like this bumming around, that I wanted to do something permanent. I wanted to have a stable life, not like my dad on 24-hour call, couldn't make any plans. And at that time, why the railroad was altogether different than what it is now. So I went back to the railroad, wrote the book of rules, bummed around from Colorado, New Mexico, Illinois, Hutchinson, Kansas, and the switching, Emporia on the middle division. I was down here in Oklahoma for about 2 days, established seniority, all these different places. But I decided that wasn't for me. So I went to barber school. And I'd met her before I got into barber school. And I went to school in Wichita. Graduated #1 in my class. I was told I was too old to go to barber school. But I went anyway. I think I had about a 98.5 grade average, which was one of the top ones ever produced. Then I went to work
Whoa. You forgot
as a
to
barber
tell.
in Topeka, Kansas. We got married. I changed barber shops. Got to be well established in Topeka.
Won the state championship.
Huh?
Won the state championship.
Well, you're ahead of me.
Oh, okay.
I was also one of the highest paid barbers in Topeka, which haircuts were 65 cents when I started. And I think they got up to maybe $2 when I changed barbershops. Started my own shop. I was in a contest, state contest, and I was Kansas State champion for flat tops.
Oh.
And I can still lay a good flat top, but nobody wants them.
Yeah.
Nobody cuts hair the way I did.
So,
I've been observing haircuts all around. Terrible, terrible.
Yeah. When'd you come to Muskogee? When'd you come to Muskogee?
Would that come? Why?
Yeah, when and why?
Your question.
It came because I got hired to direct the district library, which included this library and 13 others
Oh, okay.
throughout the
So
region.
your wife was a librarian here.
Yeah, she invited me to come down, so I says I'll go.
Okay.
Well, actually, I invited him to come from Texas. We were already in Texas where I was doing some work for the state library
Mhm.
out in the El Paso region. That was an interesting life.
I took basic there.
Oh, you did? No kidding.
And Muskogee is another adventure.
And then they hired me here because there were so many problems with the library district, and I got a call from the state library in Oklahoma. I was working in Missouri as the assistant director of a tax-supported regional library. And I got a call from someone who had worked for me previously, and she said, we've got this library district down here, and we need somebody like you to come down and make it run like it's supposed to.
Where'd you meet your wife?
How did I meet her?
Where?
Emporia.
Emporia?
That's a blind date.
What's your wife's name?
Mary Lou.
Mary Lou. Okay.
Maryland.
Now, another thing, was our first date, which was a blind date. We didn't like each other. She was of all things, an English major. My worst subject ever. And she's a highfalutin college girl. And me, I was just everyday Joe out of the Air Force.
I didn't know that. He was just an older guy, and most of the guys who were my same age at college, they were boring.
You forgot to ask about education.
Yeah.
I graduated from Emporia High. I graduated twice from the University of Texas El Paso with I forgot. What's the first degree I got?
Bachelor of,
Yeah, just a bachelor's degree. And then I got a
Bachelor of Fine Arts.
got a what?
Bachelor of Fine Arts. Fine
Yes.
Arts. Because he was an artist. And asked him what his field was.
Oh, what's your field? What is your field, an artist in art?
I was a potter. I'm
Potter.
still a potter,
Okay.
but I haven't practiced in years.
Yeah.
I still look at pottery and criticize it.
Yeah. Would you join the Air Force again?
Yes,
Oh! Excuse
I'm
me.
too old now. I would recommend military service for anybody, particularly kids that don't know what they're going to do once they walk out of the high school. Even so, yeah.
What does it teach you?
Right now, to enlist, you can get $20,000 or $30,000 just for enlisting,
And you can get your college.
and you got 6 months later to finally show up to start your basic trainings.
And you can get some college scholarship money.
And also, I used a GI Bill to get my scholars, my degrees.
I'd like to do a word association. I'll give you some words and you give me your reaction.
Oh, you're asking for a bunch.
First one is basic training.
Hard.
Aircraft mechanic.
A job.
Bikini. Bikini.
Bikini.
Bikini.
Oh, Bikini.
Yeah.
A beautiful little island.
Inuitok.
It was a bear's overcrowded piece of coral.
Nuclear explosion.
Fantastic.
Dwight Eisenhower.
He was a general.
John Kennedy.
John Kennedy. He was a Catholic president.
Lyndon Johnson.
Which Johnson?
Lyndon.
Oh, Lyndon. Well, not favorable.
How do you want to be remembered?
Just I guess. How do I want to be remembered? A good guy.
In a horse trough.
In a horse trough.
That's a story.
What's a horse trough?
What's in a horse trough? Right now is a bunch of, you want to know the story of the horse trough?
Yes.
The story is my great-grandfather, who was a homesteader in Emporia, Kansas area, chipped out a watering tank out of flint rock by hand. He did 2 of them on his homestead to water horses or livestock with. My dad found them and brought them back to his place. Used them as, well, I guess I'd use them as a flower bed or decoration. When he died, they both went to my nephew out in the country. And I decided that that would be a great monument or my tombstone in the Quaker Cemetery, which my father helped survey when he was a young man. So now it is sitting on the ground on our gravesite in the Cottonwood Cemetery in Emporia, Kansas. Now, whether I'm going to be buried there or planted in the top of it and grow weeds, I don't know. But they're not going to throw dirt in my face.
Well, sir, this is an excellent interview. This is an excellent interview.
Okay.
I want to thank you for your service and thank you for the interview.
Well, did you do service?
Yes.
Were you a Marine?
I was Army.
Oh.
I was in Vietnam.
Oh,
Well, I'll tell you how come I missed Vietnam. I was on that 9-month extension, and I was there at Pope Air Force Base, and I was feeling very, very blue. I never felt so bad in my life, mentally. And the word came down that we were all going to be extended for a year or longer. If we volunteered, we would get out in a year's time. If you didn't volunteer, why, you could be there forever. If the crisis was over in 6 months, well, you were out.
what crisis?
Vietnam. And I was feeling very bad because I was on a 9-month extension, ready to get out. And okay, my personal life was bad anyway at that point. That we had a commander's call, and the first shirt, it was in the base theater. The first shirt was on stage. None of us liked him because he tried to be military, and we didn't like that. Hard-nosed military. And our other first sergeant, well, he was the good guy. And he stood up there and he said, the following people do not have to be here. And he read down a couple of names and he read mine, and all I remember, I jumped up in the air and said, let me out of here. And the next thing I knew, I was in the parking lot. Now how I got out there, I don't know. I was out there. And I had about 2 weeks left, something of that nature. And I was a very happy guy. My mood changed and everything.
Why didn't you have to be there? Why didn't you have to be there? Why'd they call your name?
Because I was on the 9-month extension.
Okay.
And it was just about over.
And if I probably would have missed it anyway.
Yeah.
But all the aircraft that I'd been working on, they're in their dock system, were transported to Vietnam. The squadrons were. And the planes were outfitted with Agent Orange.
I don't think I would have known him.
Okay. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
And again, this is July 23rd, 2019. My name is Joe Todd. This is an interview with Esley A. Hinshaw in Muskogee, Oklahoma. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.